Welcome to Recap Our Studio.
The following contains Ice Age spoilers. Please proceed with caution. The husband, Rob, puts a few boxes inside the flat while his young wife helps him. Gail, his wife, informs him that the eccentric old fridge the landlord left behind is in the corner. Rob is intrigued by the fact that, unlike in modern refrigerators, the engine is located on top of the appliance. He points out that it makes no sense to have the engine located at the bottom of the fridge, where the hot air it generates would be forced upwards by the refrigeration system. Gail, on the other hand, listens to Rob just enough to agree with him. She then opens a bottle of wine and asks her husband if he wants to join her in a glass. Rob, in a flurry of excitement, unlocks the ancient fridge in search of ice. Even though the freezer is completely covered with frost, he is still able to extract a single ice cube. The pair raises a glass to their new life together and toasts briefly. Even before he could take a sip, Rob saw something in the ice. He removes the ice cube from the glass and presents it to Gail, who he asks to verify its contents. Seeing that her husband is as shocked as she is, Gail examines the situation more closely so that she may get his approval on what she witnessed. Gail takes out a microscope to look at the ice cube in detail. Unexpectedly, there's a little mammoth inside armed to the teeth with spears. Gail has started to wonder whether there are more of these items in the freezer. To find out, she opens it. She hastily empties the trunk, and what she finds inside shocks her. Rob opens it and makes the remark that there must be a whole lost civilization in there. That's right. There is a fully functional medieval city replica in the fridge. The small inhabitants within are going about their day as usual, completely oblivious to the two enormous birds flying about their metropolis. According to Gail, this whole thing is illogical. Additionally, Rob is in agreement. Upon asking when the last woolly mammoths perished, she explains that it was in the late Neolithic era, making the metropolis they are seeing early medieval. When his wife confronts him about his seeming lack of knowledge, Rob brushes it off and agrees with her. Rob puts the frozen guy in a pot and fills it with earth. Rob appears down about it, but Gail cheers him up by saying the compost may be useful. They revisit the freezer as curiosity takes control. They find that everything has altered significantly to their amazement. During the time of the Industrial Revolution, what was formerly a medieval city underwent a period of modernization. The smoke from newly constructed industries and railways fills the cold night sky. The pair has been gone for barely 10 minutes, but for the miniatures it seems like decades. Gail concludes that time passes differently in the freezer after seeing the rapid development of the Industrial Revolution. Rob feels bad that they didn't get to see the Renaissance. He sees two little guys sitting next to a construction site and asks why they are worshipped as deities. But the guys are making fun of them because to them they seem like strange faces peering down at the city. Someone else says they're sick of seeing Gail with broccoli caught in her teeth. Within a heartbeat, cutting-edge structures spring up. Rob sees some strange flying objects, and Gail says they're aircraft. Gail thinks the little people have caught up to modern times as more and more buildings are constructed. When Rob sees a Starbucks and remarks on how noticeable the cafe is, he is convinced. Then he sees something strange and decides to investigate more. Rob is blinded by the flash of the exploding rocket as he recoils and lands on the floor in the center of the metropolis. Gail calms him down and helps him to his feet. Nonetheless, Rob freaks out, saying that their freezer is bursting with tactical nukes. The freezer bursts with gigantic nuclear explosions, but Rob's face is as red as a tomato and Gail can hardly maintain a straight face. Gail shows her husband how his face became red following the explosion by handing him a shining toaster. Rob moans, but then realizes that the situation in the freezer has just gotten worse. Hearing cries, gunfire, and explosions, the pair can only look at it in horror. Upon hearing this, Rob wonders what they should do, and Gail replies that they should order pizza for dinner later that night since humans can't possibly outgrow war. While waiting for things to calm down, the couple enjoys a pizza meal. Rob suggests they go to the freezer since an hour has gone. Gail gently reminds the small people that they need to accept the idea that they didn't make it, but he hopes that they got an opportunity to rebuild their city nevertheless. In any case, Rob visits the fridge and defrosts something. Light-up towns and hovering automobiles greet them when they open the freezer. Gail thinks it resembles the Emerald City from The Wizard of Oz, but with less emerald and more high-tech additions. Rob is overcome with joy as he takes in the breathtaking scenery. Rob makes a joke about how the structure in front of them appears like an adult toy. Right at that moment, the situation intensifies, and a huge pyramid materializes in the heart of the future metropolis. Its dazzling light comes from the energy supplied by the bridges that connect to it. Soon enough, it takes the form of a diamond-shaped fortress, devours the whole metropolis, and then explodes into a sphere of energy. Light streaks zip through Rob and Gail's kitchen like shooting stars as the regal energy surges. During this time, the miraculous light captivates both of them. It seems that the small people have discovered the keys to time and space travel. Once this occurs, the redirected light streaks inside the freezer condense into a spherical and vanish. Rob and Gail's bemused expressions disappear when they realize what had happened to them. Rob has begun to worry whether he will see the return of the little people. Gail, though, is skeptical. As a result, Rob removes the refrigerator's blog with a sense of resignation, as if he has finally accepted that the little people are gone for good. Gail comforts Rob with an embrace, knowing that he has become fond of the little people. Once she has decided to call it a day, she locks the freezer and walks away. Rob makes 2 cups of coffee the next morning, giving one to Gail. They looked at each other silently, but both were thinking about the little civilization in their freezer and hoping beyond hope that its inhabitants were still alive. The freezer was disconnected, but when they opened it again, icy mist was coming out. It's possible that inside they saw another ice age or a group of primitive sapiens tearing through the corpse of a giant brachiosaurus. It's as if life in the deep freeze has revived and the dinosaur era has returned. Suddenly, a roar warns the human population of an approaching T-Rex. The humans flee as one is torn in two by the dinosaur's jaws, and the other humans trip and fall as the T-Rex approaches in for the kill. Many people think the freezer is a little cosmos where they may see how life develops until it breaks away of our physical world. The freezers have been interpreted by some as evidence of the end of the planet, but it is also possible that the small people have found a new home in another realm. It's hard to say how many times life began in that ancient freezer or whether the procedure is always the same. It's possible the previous owners got tired of seeing life blossom and perish and abandoned the remarkable freezer. In the episode God Serengeti, produced by Oat Studios, a herd of elephants walks through a field, only this field is on a table in the center of a mystery man's office. This may provide a clue as to who created life inside the freezer, but the program never explicitly said so. The elderly guy is too preoccupied with his book to notice. When his butler Jeffrey inquires as to the book's quality, the guy replies that it's too technical and that he would rather read about chaos. Still, he appreciates the book's black hole formula. He looks down at the little creatures in his pocket and scoffs at the one who is rubbing 2 sticks together like a miniature man. The elderly guy becomes outraged when the Homo sapiens suddenly learns how to manufacture fire. He's upset because he didn't warn them that it was possible, as per his job description. Over 200,000 years before they were intended to give them fire is when we are today, as Jeffrey is well aware. The elderly man gives Jeffrey the order to extinguish the fire, prompting the butler to blow beneath the table, putting out the fire. The elderly man's anger remains unabated. He orders Jeffrey to herd the elephants back into their caverns, and the butler complies, setting off a stampede that drives the people into hiding. Even when everything is over, the elderly guy is still irritated. So, to stop the little organisms from exercising free will, he intends to reduce their brains. Soon later, the Homo sapiens emerge from the cave once again to engage in their rain dance ritual. Jeffrey informs him that they haven't switched off the drought, so the elderly man instructs him to sprinkle some water on the small things. Jeffrey complies cheerfully, spraying water over the table and thereby creating rain to fall on the playing field. Someone says that their God is compassionate. The elderly guy, amused by the human's joy, tells his loyal butler to spray more water. As Jeffrey continues to tend the little plot of land, fresh vegetation begins to appear. The elderly guy has had enough of Jeffrey's antics and orders him to let loose with the plague. The elderly guy is determined to stop this game, but the butler is hesitating. Jeffrey, frowning, cracks open an old package and removes a pricey bottle. Jeffrey sprays it on the Homo sapiens, and one by one, they suffocate and die. The grandfather just observes it while reading on. In this account of creation, God gives water to the creatures at his table, displaying both mercy and wrath as he does so. When he gets bored of watching them, he quickly ends their life as well. They share a fascination with robotic death. Both God and Ice Age include depictions of supernatural entities. Rob and Gail observe the cycle of life and death without interfering, but with empathy for the civilizations they see. In comparison, the other portrays a more engaged God who is indifferent to the lives on his table, regarding them as entertainment that you can switch off. Join the channel to see more videos like this one. It helps the channel out greatly if you enable alerts and enjoy the content. I appreciate you taking the time to watch.